Well, it's a Tuesday evening on 97.3 Citi FM, and you do know that on Tuesdays we talk tech. But one of the key fundamental aspects of tech, obviously social media and its relation with global trends. Well, we're going to be delving into that on today's show. So if you are into social media trends and want to understand the dynamics within the space, this is a show for you. Thank you, welcome, and let's get the conversation going. You're welcome to Citi Trends. My name is Ashon, and of course, you can be a part of the conversation tonight using our WhatsApp and Telegram number 0549 986 996. This show obviously thrives on your feedback, so we would love to hear what you have to say about the issues that we're discussing tonight. And tonight, we are going to be looking at a report that came out a couple of weeks ago. Digital 2023 Global Overview Report, the essential guide to the world's connecting behaviors. Lots of very interesting insights that we got from there. We Are Social and, of course, Meltwater put this edition together. We have seen iterations of this over the years, so it's interesting and important that we delve into this report for this period. There are a lot of very interesting things that jump out at you, and of course, it's important for us to sort of look through the report and then figure out some of the things that will be important to us. And I think one of the biggest things for me, even before we get to meet our guests on the show, is the fact that we have a total population of 8 billion people. And also, unique mobile phone users currently stands at 5.44 billion. That is 68% of the population. Internet users as at today stands at 5.6 billion. Active social media users stands at 4.76 billion. I mean, if these top headline bits of information doesn't startle you, I'm not sure what else will. But I'm guessing that you probably want to know what the real numbers and what the meanings of some of these numbers actually are. And so we have gotten our guests in the studio to help us delve deeper into the research and, sort of give us also a Ghanaian sort of perspective about all of it. But then we'll also be looking at the global trends and what they mean. In a minute, we'll be meeting our guest for today. She will give us an idea of who she is, and then we'll delve straight into it. You're welcome once again to Citi Trends.
Hi, my name is Alice Mensah. I will say I am a marketing leader with 10 years marketing experience. I started as a Google ambassador somewhere 2012, and being one of the very first people trained directly by Google, I jumped onto a telco, Tigo, as a digital marketing specialist. And right from there, I've been moving from real estate to agency and currently with fintech called Fido, where we give loans to, I think we've done over 2.5 million loans. And so I'm happy today to join Philip. So we discuss the trends and the numbers when it comes to the internet and then social media.
All right. So that is that intro. But I mean, generally, when you look at the report, what are your initial thoughts about the report from a general standpoint? What are your initial thoughts about the report for this year?
Yeah, I think I will say kudos to those who put together this report. What I see is growth everywhere. If you take Ghana, for example, our population has grown. Mobile connectivity numbers have grown, internet penetration have grown, and social media, where now almost everybody is on his phone trying to either be on Facebook or Twitter or TikTok and things like that, has also increased tremendously. So this generally means that internet penetration isn't going lower. It will forever keep going higher till we get to 100%. And so what this tells me is that there are so many opportunities. Because these days, internet has become part of everything we do. Whether you are using it for business, you're using it for news, or you're just having fun with your friends. it is super important. It has become part of us. And so I'm so happy that the numbers actually confirm my feeling about this new technology that we've come to embrace.
I mean, the digital space is obviously really big, and it has its own meanings from a marketing standpoint and, from all of these standpoints. So we are going to, lean on your knowledge and your viewing of the report. Just walk us through some of the key highlights that jumped out at you, and then tell us why some of these are so important. Obviously, one of the things that we would also be looking at is the fact that when you look globally, this report obviously comes, some years after the pandemic, a year or two after the pandemic. But what seems to be happening is more and more people spending less and less time online. When you look at the global statistics, it appears that people may not necessarily be spending more time, but then they're spending more quality time within that short period of time that they are on. And I just thought that was really, really interesting. But let's get into your observations so far of the report, the things that stood out for you, and then we can get into some of the global trends as well.
Okay. For me, what stood out for me, let me start from the low point. Though we all agree that the internet penetration is increasing, there is still a big number of offline people. So, for example, I see that 47% of Ghanaians are still offline. And what this means is that being a marketing person or being a business, we agree that a bigger number of the people can be found online, but you still can't do without offline. That is the truth. So you still have to do a mixture of everything, what we call 360 campaigns, where you have a bit of outdoor in there, a bit of TV and radio in there, and definitely also digital. So that is one thing that stood out for me. Then the positive side, which is social media for me, grew by 7.3%. And usually when we say percentages, you don't really feel it. So let me put it into numbers. 600,000 people have joined social media. So this is really big. Imagine going to an event and having 600,000 people seated in an auditorium. That is big. So this is just the increment. And adding it to the people who were already there, making it 8.8 million Ghanaians. This is not worldwide. Ghanaians already online. And so in whatever aspect of business you're doing, you can't do without social media. You can't. I know majority of these business owners are in the older generation, and so aren't still used to this social media thing. But it's time they embrace it, because there are some people, you saw them to spend even, let's say, $100 on a social media campaign, and they wouldn't do, but will spend, let's say, 1,000 Cities on just one jingle. You get it? Because that is where he believes will give him the returns. But this report is proving to us that no, social media itself can also give you returns, because I don't think there is any place you go to see 8.8 million people.
Potential, a potential audience that you can actually track. And this point always seems to stick out almost every time. The fact that when you deal with, your traditional forms of media, it does appear that there's a bit of a difficulty, for example, tracing, getting all the data that you can use to make, decisions from a commercial or a sales point of view. But then digital offers you, those metrics that you can make very important decisions on. But then once again, it does seem like the traditional is still ruling, maybe because our digital space is not as structured as it's supposed to be. So for example, in a radio station, you typically expect that, it will be fully digitalized such that we can be able to track how many people are listening to the radio. But then we are predominantly analog. So then, it kind of makes it difficult for someone who is making a purchasing decision from a marketing standpoint to say that I'm going to go solely digital. It always seems to come up. And I'm just wondering, with your marketing lens on, what would be your thinking around that? The fact that the wider society is pretty much more analog. I mean, if you go to, the northern areas and, some of the middle belt and things like that, where the internet penetration might not be as much, 4G is not necessarily available, it kind of presupposes that you would have to stick with, traditional forms of media just to get the level of penetration you're looking for.
I agree that if you go to the northern part and some other hinterlands, yes, people are still offline. And those people will fall within the 47%, which we have mentioned. So I'm also acknowledging that not everybody is online. But 47 and 53. Philip, which one is big? 53 is obviously bigger. And so I think it's a mindset thing. Business owners would have to tune their mind a little bit more to digital. And, people are taking advantage of it. Interestingly, they are not even locals. I have worked for business. I don't want to mention names, but you have a budget of, let's say, 100K USD, and they'll tell you that use 70% for digital and just 30% for offline. Recently, I got introduced to some Indian guys who also want to do some gaming products, and they are also looking to spend about 50K USD, and they want everything to be digital. They don't even want anything offline. But the case is, if there is no value in it, why are these foreign investors pushing money in it? Because they know they'll get their returns. And I can tell you confidently that the growth you see in Fido and some of these big companies I have worked with, even Apollonia Citi, you will see that we get quality leads from online. Because, there is something that people haven't realized. There is this theory called moments of truth, where initially, if you want to buy a camera, you go to, let's say, a store. Let me just use Melcom as an example. When you go, you don't know anything about cameras. So you ask the sales guy, hey, guy, these two cameras, which one do I buy? Then he said, oh, this one is good, based on his knowledge. Okay, that is your first moment of truth from that guy. You go home, you go use the camera, and realize, this camera is whack. That is your second moment of truth. Guess what? Things have changed. Now, there's something called 0 moments of truth, where I would have to go online, go and do my own research, and then be able to draw my own conclusions. So now, before I even go to Melcom, to an extent, I know what I'm looking for. Okay, and so yes, the sales girl can advise, but it's still my decision to either go for it or not. And so that 0 moments of truth is having an influence, whether we like it or not, on the purchasing decision of the everyday person. And so if you are a business and I go do my 0 moments of truth and you are not there to be found, the only place you sell is offline. You don't have a website, you don't have an app, you don't have any social media platform. You've missed on impressing me. And so now when I go to Melcom, I'll only buy the one who has an online presence. It is possible that that person may not be the best. You probably is the best. You are the best. But because you don't have an online presence, you've missed a customer. And you know how many more of me you have missed? We have over 8 million people online. So you're missing everybody like me. And so if you are a Ghanaian business owner, just try it out. Give yourself, I'm not saying put all your money in there, but try with some small budget and test the waters. Okay, if it works for you, you keep pushing. And so that is what I was saying.
And before we go further into your observations, one of the issues that have come up recently also is the fact that everybody seems to be going in one direction. Oh, I have an app. Oh, I have, without necessarily having a strategy around it. So it's like a checkbox of sorts. Do you have an app? Do you have this? Are you? Is your website mobile friendly? Without necessarily going beyond just having it to actually making it more or less easier for people to make purchasing decisions with. And I don't know what your thoughts are about those realizations within the business space.
Okay, I would say you should start with what you have. It's not everybody that can build an app, obviously, but Facebook is free. Other social media platforms are free. And everything which is free, I take advantage of. So after you've taken advantage of the free ones, then now if you think in fact, as for website, I would say it's a must. It is the app that I would say that, well, if you are not into, let's say, applications. For example, Fido takes a loan via an app. So it is a must. But if, let's say, you have a shop and it's just a storefront, then you may not necessarily need an app, just a website, but maybe you can incorporate some e-commerce features so that people can make orders and things like that. That works with me. So you start with what you have. I wouldn't push people too much to do so much if they don't have the ability to do so. Okay, so that would be what I would say. Okay.
All right, so now we are going to go further into some of the pointers that Alice has put together, and it's interesting, some of the pointers that she raises, especially about, and for marketing people who are making marketing decisions, commercial decisions, no matter how small the budget is, make sure that there is a bit for digital, because there's a population waiting to be marketed to and offered products that you potentially have to sell. But of course, it's not just about selling products. It's also about offering, other products, but I'm sure we'll get into those. So let's get more into some of the observations that you made from the reports, the digital 2023 report.
Okay. Another thing I realized is internet speed. I was so sad to see that internet speed reduced, especially for mobile connectivity. So let's say if I have a phone and I have bought, let's say, 1 gig for a week on my phone, the speed I want to actually browse with reduced a little. Whereas those who had fixed broadband, for example, let's say I have some MTN router at home or some Vodafone kind of fixed thing in my home, that increased. And I thought the telcos could do better. Yeah, not to pick on anybody, but if our internet penetration is growing, this is not a time to reduce your speed, because speed is money, time is money. People actually need to arrange meetings on their phones. People do meetings on their phone. With this COVID thing that came, the Zoom and the Google Meet and all those, and so people are doing everything virtual. So that is an observation I took, and I think that the telcos need to invest more in their speed, so that the everyday Ghanaian will also get value for the data, because trust me, data is expensive. And so if I'm buying it, I should as well get the speed that I want. At least, even if you can't go up, be stable, but don't reduce.
Would you say it also could be because, and like you rightly said, quite a number of people are now getting onto the fiber conversation, fixed broadband and that sort of thing. Could it also be that there is a shift towards working from home, and those sort of, and that probably is a reason why there seems to be that discrepancy there?
Yeah, I think working from home has also come to stay. There are businesses in Ghana that are practicing that, and so if you have a fixed broadband, I think it's good enough for you, because you have to get stable internet to do your stuff. But if you are working from home and you're having stable internet connectivity, it doesn't mean that those who use their phones should suffer. And so the telcos can still maintain that same level of speed they give to the guys using the fixed broadband to the guys using mobile. Because trust me, if a lot more people are rather using the fixed broadband, and it means you have less people on your mobile connectivity, and so we should enjoy the more and not rather lesser. Yeah. So I rather think that because more people are coming on board, more people are using their infrastructure, and so it's like me having one Apple. If I don't have anybody sharing it with, I have the full Apple. But if 10 people have to share that same Apple, then everybody gets bit. And so if you, the one giving the Apple, you want us to be okay, then give us 10 apples so that everybody gets one. Exactly. So as they are taking our monies and we paying for this broadband, they should definitely expand whatever infrastructure they need to put in place so that people can enjoy their internet usage. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
So is there anything else from the research that you feel you wanted to highlight before we get into some of the other?
Yeah, I saw something too about popular websites. So I want to move away from social media and go to websites. And I don't know if Ghana Web is Ghanaian, but I presume it is because of the name. And they were the second most visited website, and I thought it was good. I'm happy to always see one of our own also shining. But initially, I thought it would be Facebook, Google, all those big guys. But seeing Ghana Web as number 2, I was super impressed. Whatever work they are doing, they should keep on doing it, because people are actually visiting them, and they will also make good money from that. Then there are other bad things that should I say bad? Okay, maybe my perspective. I saw 3 betting companies at the first 10, and I was like, Hey, my people, is that what you use your time for? So I don't know. It shows who we are and what we are interested in.
It's just a direct reflection of what society is today, especially with the betting websites and the porn websites and things like that, which almost consistently every year we have them showing up consistently in the top 10, and I guess it's just a reflection of what our society is today as well.
Yeah. And so if you are a parent, you have to be aware of this. And I don't know if I can speak to you, but because I think sometimes we don't take note of what our kids are doing, and once they are holding the phone, we assume they are learning or they are doing something. So maybe, unless you are okay with it, but if you are not okay with it, it's time for you to monitor what they do. And I know there are apps that can make you track what they are doing. Even the history of their browsers can make you know, so that they don't go and learn vices that ideally you wouldn't encourage them to do. So yeah, and the other thing I saw is about the streaming. I was impressed because 2015 I was with Tigo and we're trying to push a streaming music platform called Deezer. It was a tough game. We intentionally had to push some big names in the music industry just so people's attention will come on the Deezer platform. But it still didn't work out like we were expecting. So to see that 7 or 8 years down the line, people are actually streaming music, using internet to do the streaming, and now they've become plenty. Spotify, Boomplay, some cry. I've lost the name. So I think it's a very good news, and I also think it's an indicator that sometimes it's just time. Leave time to do its work. Don't force it. At a point, you may be pushing a behavioral change. People were used to listening to music on radio and then on TV. All of a sudden, you want them to use hard-earned money to buy data and stream. Beginning, it will look very cumbersome. You think this isn't going anywhere. But if you give it time, people will get used to what is happening at the moment, and then they'll definitely come on. Yeah.
So 22.8% of the population on the internet in Ghana are streaming music. And what you did say about that, which I found very interesting, was the fact about attitude, not change, and the fact that you should give it time. But the truth also is, a lot of businesses don't have the money to wait out that time. But then the habit needs to be inculcated and the attitude needs to change. So how do businesses who are looking at changing attitudes, in this case, for example, streaming music, how do they still maintain that consistency in terms of customer engagement in order to be able to change attitudes? And I'm guessing this is something that a lot of businesses are also looking at doing. I mean, people in insurance tech, for example, are going through this phase as well. And quite a number of industries are battling with this difficulty of changing attitudes towards a product or a service. But then, it obviously involves a lot of money, investment, and things like that. How do businesses work around that? Because it's obviously not easy.
I would say they should keep hope alive, because change is difficult. Imagine you knowing something over 20 years and then someone wants to change it in just a year. It's not possible. It will take time. So maybe the business owners will have to put that into their calculation. So maybe we, the managers, will also have to tell it as it is and don't sugarcoat it. Sometimes when we are given targets, in order to please people, we say, oh, it's doable. And you give the upper management hope that, oh, once I bring this new behavioral change, it's going to work and the people are going to accept it. But the truth is, it may not, or it may take time. So once you build that perception in their minds that, yes, it will happen, but it's gradual, then when they are also hoping, they will hope with some level of cautiousness that, hey, this may take 5 years. So maybe if we are investing, let's invest slowly and rather wait till people catch up with it before maybe we push it the more. So that you don't also put all your money into something and within 1 or 2 years you don't see the return on investment, and now you decide to just back off. And so I think that is what I will say to businesses who want to actually drive behavioral change using technology.
All right, well, you're still tuned into 97.3 Citi FM. We're having a conversation with Alice. I'm looking at the Global Digital Report 2023 and just trying to tease out some of the interesting statistics and what the statistics actually mean as well. We have talked a bit about Ghana. We'll be looking at global trends and what they mean for Ghana and Africa when we come back right after this. Share your thoughts and opinions on the show via the WhatsApp number 054-998-6996. Tweet at us using hashtag CityTrends. Well, you're welcome back. This is 97.3 Citi FM. We are talking about the Digital 2023 report, what it means for digital marketers, what it means for decision makers and businesses, what it means for you as social media users and new media users, and basically internet users or digital natives or digital persons, for want of a better description. And we're here with Alice as she walks us through her observations from the report. And then, of course, we'll be getting and delving a bit deeper into some of the global trends and what, for her, it means from a global level to a local level. So let's get into the most used social media platforms and your observations from there.
Okay. So I realized that WhatsApp is the number one. Okay, and the percentage is huge, 89.9. That is huge. Okay, some years back there was no WhatsApp, so Facebook was comfortably ruling.
And actually had been number one for several years.
Yes, and all of a sudden a new one comes. Hopefully it's for them, so that is okay. But imagine this was for another brand. Facebook's revenue would have gone down just because there is a new baby on the block. And so what this tells me is that nothing is number one forever. Nothing is number one forever. And just to chip in this ChatGPT thing, Google has always remained as the number one search, and it looks like now they are panicking because of it. And so the giants of these tech companies shouldn't be comfortable and then do nothing more innovative, thinking that what they have can sustain them for years. Right. New kids can come and then just blow them, which also means that our developers can also start doing something, and then they can also blow. Okay, so that is one thing, which also means that for we Ghanaians, we love WhatsApp. And so what this also means for everyday sellers, not big companies, but you being maybe you sell some bags or some dresses, don't think that it is only when you do a radio advert or maybe even Facebook ad that you can get people. You could do WhatsApp. These days they have the WhatsApp business where you could add a catalog of whatever you are selling, the prices and all that. You can also utilize it because it is the number one. So why not make use of it? So that is what I would say. And also sometimes when you have discussion with some tech literates, they make you understand that, Facebook dear, that only old people use Facebook now. Charlie, everybody's on Twitter and TikTok. But guess what? Facebook is still number two, right after WhatsApp. And IG follows and Snapchat, even before Twitter. So don't just neglect Facebook. Don't open accounts on Twitter and TikTok and ignore Facebook. You are still losing a big chunk of people. And I know the older ones still love it because that's where they still meet their classmates and things like that.
And those are the people who actually have that level of disposable income.
Exactly. They have the purchasing power. So you have to get a Facebook page and don't just say, IG and TikTok are the ones ruling. And so numbers don't lie. The numbers say Facebook is number two. So please take advantage of that as well. Funny enough, I thought LinkedIn was growing steadily, but it looks like it is still, struggling. Yet still, I will say if you are a young corporate person, hey, don't do without LinkedIn. Have a nice profile because it is like a semi-website and a semi-social media. People get jobs. I know people who've gotten jobs, dollar jobs, so on LinkedIn. Right. So I'll tell you that, yes, please take advantage because when I checked, guess what? LinkedIn had about 1.8 million. Yeah, let me say 2 years ago, it was around 1 million. and now it's 1.8 million. Just that it is growing slowly, but it is growing.
It's still growing.
It's still growing. And I remember when I was in the real estate, it was, I think, our number 2 after Google, our lead generation channel. Because it was real estate. You need people who have the purchasing power to buy lands in dollars.
Exactly.
You know? And so please be on that as well. And IG is comfortably number 3, which is okay. And so I think, these are the channels that we have. TikTok has actually overtaken LinkedIn. TikTok came how many years ago?
That's where a lot of the young, very active people, and a lot of this data obviously is based on usage. Most use social media platforms. Clearly tells you that there is a shift going on, and I'm guessing that's what explains Facebook, being overtaken by Instagram. Yes, like you said, it belongs to Meta as a business generally, but it clearly tells you the shift in ideology in terms of how people consume information. And for me, there's another question I'll be asking later, but for me, it obviously, and the rise of TikTok over the years also makes or alludes to this, the fact that more and more people are consuming content. And so the platforms that allow you to easily express, share content, obviously is getting the most usage. Instagram obviously has had to do a lot of adaptation with regards its platform, a lot of changes taken from your TikToks and your Snapchats, infusing some of their features just to stay relevant. And obviously the numbers don't lie. It kind of makes you understand why they are number 1 at 89.9%. But then the TikToks of the world are obviously still catching up. And it will be interesting to see what the numbers look like next year, because obviously this is a growing trend.
I also believe that TikTok will grow very fast. Aside they even allow you to do content in a very simple way, there is something that they are doing that the others thought they were punishing us with. So let me tell you this. At a point, you post something on Facebook and they will intentionally reduce the reach. So you may have struggled to build a followership of, let's say, 100K. You post and less than 1% see it. Unless you now do paid advertisements to reach your own followers. So they had they have a targeting option where you can target people who already follow you. People I have acquired already, I have to still pay to get them. But guess what? TikTok comes and it flips it. You don't even need to be a follower, and you still see the content. So you Facebook, you thought you were trying to be smart and get more money by reducing reach so that I'll pay. Now your competitor comes and says that, hey, a friend did a video just last night, and that was the very first time he used TikTok. Very first time. Obi account now, he posted he slept and woke up and he already had 600 views. And he was like, who knows me here? People are watching. Okay. And so I think Facebook and the others are causing their own, let me say, downfall, because TikTok is doing the opposite and people are loving it and they are using it.
Discovery of new content seems to be one of the biggest things. Is there anything else from the data that you want to touch on before we get into a bit of the global trends that popped out?
Okay, so I wanted to touch on the browsers. I realized that Chrome browser has about 59% of the usage in Ghana here. And I was surprised. Because when we were starting to learn about the internet, Chrome wasn't there. It was Internet Explorer, if you remember.
Internet Explorer. I
Yes.
was even going to say Edge.
Okay.
But Internet Explorer.
Edge is the sister, so And I'm surprised that in this few years of me trying to, it has because 59% is like more than half. Okay, and so at least it still gives me hope that we can still build something. I remember there was this Ghanaian who was doing, is it Anansi Web or I don't know if you remember those guys. And we shouldn't lose hope in our own talents and in our own development. We should rather push it and don't think that somebody is a giant and so I cannot overtake the person. It is possible. people have shown, I know these are giants, and so it may be easier for them. But hey, let's keep trying. We don't know. One day we may break out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, fingers crossed. We hope that we do break out at some point. If Chrome can do it to Internet Explorer, you never know what is possible. You're still tuned in to 97.3 Citi FM. This is Citi Trends. We are having a conversation around the digital 2023 or digital in Ghana or globally digital report, global overview report. We're just trying to understand what the data actually means and what it translates into. Now, one of the things that I found interesting was the fact that it appears from a global standpoint that there seems to be a decline in the amount of time that each individual is spending on the internet. Not necessarily saying that the quality is reducing, but then it appears that people are becoming more purposeful in what they use their digital technologies for, and they are prioritizing quality of connected experiences over necessarily the quantity, because for a long time it's been more about the quantity and amount of time spent, but it looks like people are spending more time in particular places that they find beneficial to them and not necessarily just being kind of all over the place. I don't know what your thoughts are around that global trend.
Personally, if you ask me, I would have said it's the opposite. I see more people on their phones, even when they are crossing the road, they are on their phone. But hey, numbers don't lie. They have done the survey and they are saying that people are spending less time. And for me, I'm happy because I think everything too much is bad. We are beginning to get addicted with this internet phone thing, smartphone thing. And so if there is data to prove that people are now being more conscious, trying to be more balanced and not always being online, to the extent that people don't have time for anything again. Yeah. They don't go out to meet their friends, that vibe, that human vibe at a point, that connection, I thought we were losing it at a point because we are too much fixated on this phone, laptop, internet thing. Right. And so if the data proves so, I just hope it keeps like that so that we can at least, we don't spend our whole day trying to be online. Right. Yeah, that's what
one of the other things also that I found interesting was the fact that how people's search is changing. I mean, ChatGPT obviously is changing the game in terms of contextualized search and everything else. But then one of the things that, stood out was the fact that there is an evolution in terms of how people are searching and even what they search for. So, for example, they hear a product and the first thing they do is search for the product's presence on the internet before they consider making a purchasing decision. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be the first thing that people do. Word of mouth is now word of the internet. And so if you don't have presence, you almost don't, make a purchasing order, or you don't commit someone to make. I just wonder what your thoughts are around all these changes and dynamics that we are seeing within even the search space.
Yeah, I think time is something that we all don't have. We have growing families, we have a lot of things to do. And so if there is contextualized search, I think it's the best. So for example, I use it a lot. Now they tell me that I should pay for it because they realize that I am overusing the app. And I think it's good because sometimes with the search that we've always been used to, you'll be looking for something and be looking.
You don't find exactly what you're looking for.
But this I can write a copy and tell it that make it more exciting. Right. And it rewrites it for me and then makes it more exciting. And I'm happy. And so I think it's good, and I think technology is growing. It's making us believe that it wouldn't be like this forever. Things will change. Because if ChatGPT just came and it's now shaking the giants like Google, then I'm happy. At least I know that things are getting better and easier. I don't have to now waste so much time searching for things. I could get it by trying to speaking to an AI and it doing the search for me and then putting together what I want exactly and then just feeding me with it. Yeah.
Well, what do you think about this? And I mean, it's not necessarily in the research, but what do you think about this collaboration, if I should call it that, between Microsoft and ChatGPT? The fact that now ChatGPT is being incorporated or baked into Microsoft's Bing. and of course now Google has, come up with its own, which obviously didn't do very well this week with, the platform giving wrong answers and things like that. What do you think about that integration that's going on? AI, search engines, what do you think about that?
I think it's good. If you can't beat them, join them.
Right.
Microsoft has been struggling with search because Google has been the leader of search for a very long time. And so if they've seen a prospect in ChatGPT, and they know they can't beat it, and so they will go and collaborate with them or buy it out and incorporate it into whatever, why not? They're being smart, I will say. And so we all need to be smart in our own ways. And so they've taken the right step in the right direction. Google has also seen that, hey, if I don't take care, this thing will overtake me. And so they are also doing their version. I think it's called BAD. Or say, yeah, yes. I think bad.
Well, yeah. it is that bad.
But I don't think all hope is lost. It was its first day, people. I think guys are being too strict on Google. Even if you are doing your own thing, day one will not be perfect. Yeah. You have bugs, you have errors. I work in a fintech company, and sometimes you can release something, and after 30 minutes you have to withdraw it because Charlie, the bugs that are coming. Meanwhile, you did all the tests and you thought it was good to go, but when people started using it, you saw the loopholes. And so I think we shouldn't be too hard on Google. They are also doing their best to compete with this AI search thing. So maybe with a couple of time, they will correct all their errors. And it's good. When there is competition, trust me, I needed ChatGPT today, and they told me that I have to pay. Yeah. Imagine Bard was there and was working well. I would have just switched. Yeah. So if we have 5 of ChatGPTs, some will be free, some will be on subscriptions, others will be free, but with some adverts and all that. We don't mind. Yeah. We'll keep using it small. We'll keep using it small. So the competition is really good. They should all bring out things like that. But I'm just hoping to see some Ghanaians or Africans also doing something in the space. Because so far it's like they are all Westerners.
Which is what I wanted to come to. AI basically is working based on information that is generally available, or information that's available globally, and it sort of computes all of that and gives you the very best results based on its intelligence. Yeah. We don't seem to be playing very well in that space in terms of content production. Yeah. So if someone is asking contextually something that has to do with Ghana within a certain context, we are most likely not going to be showing up. If someone is asking about music from Africa, because we probably haven't produced enough content about music in Ghana, we might not show up in the searches, and then your Nigerians and everybody else will be showing up. Talk to us about how important that side of the internet is, because obviously if we are going to be speaking digital, which we are right now, we need to have a certain presence in the digital space, and we don't seem to have that foothold within that space to even make the mark that we are looking for.
I would say that we are rather doing well. I would say that we have started. Maybe not to the Westerns. Obviously, they've been in the game for quite so long, and so we can't compete with them yet. But I think we are doing well. Recently, see the number of YouTubers you are seeing. 5 years ago, when you go online, everything you see are some wise people doing their own thing. Yeah. But even me, I have my YouTube channel. You see, people who are media folks are now leaving their main media work to go and concentrate on their YouTube channels, trying to create content. There are more blogs now. First, it used to be just a mayor and some few people. Now we have so many. And so I think we are getting there. We just need to incorporate digital properly in our education. Because people don't know about it a lot. They only get to know about it sometimes when, like, ahochire. Okay, I don't really have anything to do, so let me just do this blogging thing, or let me do just this YouTube thing and also make money. But imagine if there is a child in class 4 and he's taught how to write a press release, or how to write a blog, or how to do a simple video. By the time the child will be in university, he already understands the dynamics, what to do to maybe get more views and things like that. So you get people who have actually grown in the space right from class 4, whatever class it is. Unfortunately, our education system is backdated. Yeah. So, but let's hope maybe when we have lecturers who are more inclined to these tech things may change.
People, I mean, there's a bit of a philosophical question, but people talk about the fact that we are creating content, yes, but we're not necessarily creating African content. So we are creating content to fit an algorithm that will, in this case, for a YouTuber, fetch them the views that will give them the money. We are not necessarily, creating African-oriented content such that when we are building a digital world, or even as we are building a digital world, we are creating a certain imprint. It's more or less, just making sure we are satisfying the algorithm, because then that would give us the views in this sense. Or I don't know what your thought. I know it's a bit of a philosophical thing, but I just wonder your thoughts on that.
Again, I don't think so. I think we are trying. I really think we are trying, because for example, if you go to YouTube and you want to watch what the guys are doing, it's not about Shakira doing something or Trump doing something. It's about Shatta going to say something here, or Stonebwoy went for this interview and said something. It is about Ghana. Maybe we like too much negativity. That could be said. But at least the people being spoken about are Ghanaians. Unless they're talking about historical things. Maybe somebody will come and do a video about Kwame Nkrumah or things like that. That I think we can do better. But currently, the everyday news we see are about us. If not, who will read? I know nothing about these white guys. And so if you're going to write a story about how David Beckham did something, really. Yeah. And so I rather think we aren't doing as much as is being done abroad. Mm. But at least we are doing something. Yeah, something is happening. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Are there any other things that for you, you feel are important to look at based on the report? Anything else that you felt, really, stuck out for you, that you feel that we need to sort of observe?
I think worldwide, what I noticed is China. Mm. In our head, we know that these online things are actually being used mainly by Europeans or Americans. But when I saw that China rather has the highest usage, I was impressed. So it means that
isn't it a function of the population? Of
course. So I was coming to that. It's a function of the population. But can you also blame them for it? Is it my fault that my country is big? No. Like the way Nigerians are also winning their way into the music game whilst we are not. It is also a function of population. But is it their fault that they are big? No, I'm just blessed to be born in a country that has a lot of people. So you can't blame me for something I have. It's like saying, oh, you got a job for being beautiful. Is it my fault for being beautiful? And so it is still a fact that China or Eastern Asia has the highest when it comes to social media. But guess what? When I redid this analysis with the highest number of internet penetration / population, then Northern Europe topped.
I see.
So now it's not just we looking at all internet users and then trying to see the pie of countries that's topped. Rather, we are seeing, if we take this country, how many people live in there versus how many people are online. Right. Then that one, you see that Northern Europe are topping. For example, I realized that they have 85%. Yeah, and the rest are hovering around the 60s, 70s, and for us here in 50s. Right. So yeah, I think that was something that stood out for me, that China is still a force to reckon with, while the others are also doing their bit to make sure that the whole population is actually internet users. It will get to a point we may get 100%, which I doubt, because babies can't use internet, and so definitely they will be out. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that and also popped up was on the issue of short form video. A lot of people on YouTube always say, for example, on YouTube, your video should be a minimum of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. But then if you're going to put it on Instagram, because of the space that is given, you have to, cut it up and do all of that. It seems that short form video content seems to be the way to go. And I'm just wondering, from where you sit, is that, yes, YouTube has YouTube Shorts, but does that mean that YouTube Shorts will become the new revenue sort of making model for YouTube, as against the everyday YouTube where you can watch your long form videos just because of the popularity of short form video content?
I would say it depends on the content, because if it is a movie, I wouldn't like to watch a 5 minutes movie
in bits.
Yeah, it will be boring. Like we still sit down to watch long movies, 1 hour, 2 hours movies. But if, let's say, it is just a skit, a funny skit, then that's, let's say, if I get some 5 minutes, I should be okay. And so I wouldn't say yes or no. I would say it depends on what type of content you are doing. If it is comedy, if it is maybe some short information you want to share, fine. But if it is movies, why not? I would love to watch lengthy movies, just ease the stress. And whilst maybe I'm lying cozy in my bed, I'll be watching some videos. Yeah.
So basically, there is a space for the different kinds of content. But obviously, for marketers, people who are looking at generating a set, either revenue or a sale, obviously the leaning is more towards the short form video content for obvious reasons, because more and more people are accessing the internet on their mobile devices and things like that. So, it's, yes, there is a place for it, but if the money is coming from the short form video content, the people who are creating the content are going to go there and much more, and I just wonder what will happen to those who are creating longer form videos and things like that, and where they are going to fit in the equation.
I think creating shorter videos are shorter. It will take you less time to create short videos. And so if you think people are gearing towards that and you're losing out on money, you can't be stagnant. You also have to move there. So maybe you could do both. You could keep the short one for those who want to be on TikTok and the YouTube Shorts, and then leave the longer one for those who want to watch the YouTube proper. Yeah, that's what I would say.
We're going to wrap up now, but main reasons for using social media. On top is finding or keeping in touch with friends and family, followed by filling spare time. So keeping in touch with friends and family sits at 40%, filling spare time sits at 36%, and making new contacts sits at 32%. Reading news stories follows at 30%, and avoiding missing out sits at 27%. Very, very interesting, obviously. There's a lot of data, obviously, to go through. We can't get through everything, but wrapping up, in terms of the digital space and growing the digital space in Ghana, what would you see to happen this year? Are there any predictions that you have in mind for this year?
Let me touch a bit on this first. I think, yes, we all want to keep in touch, because first, if you want to visit somebody, I need to take a car or maybe travel all the way. But now I can be here and speak to my sister in another country. So I think keeping in touch with friends and family is right to be number one, followed by all the others, like spare time. We all sometimes, we are in a car, you don't have anything to do.
Just want to do something.
Exactly. With what I think will happen, let me speak to the fintech bit. A lot more people are going to be doing this fintech thing, because one, we don't have time. Nobody has time in Ghana now. And so if I want to do deposits or withdrawals or loans or savings or whatever I want to do, I should be able to do it in my house. And so fintech is going to grow more. Yeah, that is one. And when it comes to communication, because people go online to keep in touch, we're going to see more growth on there too. So maybe we're going to be seeing new apps and things like that. Yeah. And this AI thing is also coming in full force. Right. And the last one is this investment arm of things, this Bitcoin thing. Even me beginning, I was so skeptical. Now I'm like, hey, what if I don't do this and then
you miss out?
I miss out. Yeah. So And I know a lot more people are like me. We want to test, but we aren't sure. And after some few years, if it is what we think it is, and it's not just a scam sitting somewhere to blast, then more people will actually be going into that area. Yeah, that's what I would say for the future.
Alice, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, especially within the fintech space as well. Appreciate the thoughts shared. Well, listeners, these are just bits of data that we are interpreting, and based on the digital report overview of the digital landscape globally, and obviously in Ghana as well. Based on these conversations, I hope it's helping you to shape your idea of your digital strategy, for example, for the year, and some of the things that you should be keeping in mind when you think very deeply about what's the next frontier of either your work or your private life or your social life actually is. We are obviously, people complain about, we spending too much time on our phones and things like that, but main reasons for using social media, number one, at 40%, is keeping in touch with friends and family. So make of it as what you want, but clearly the digital is here to stay, and we have to get ourselves adapted to this space. My name is Philip Ashon. Once again, it's been a pleasure coming your way with another episode of Citi Trends. The show will be available as a podcast first thing tomorrow, so please do look out for it and do share with your friends and family as well. Well, till next week, stay techy.